So for 8A, like I said, we're going to focus on the distributive property and then applying that to our solving of equations. And then also we're going to review ordered pairs and plotting points. So who's heard of the distributive property? I see some hands in class, hopefully at home too. So our distributive property is using multiplication. And it's saying distribute it, give that number to everything in a grouping. So in this case here, in the first example where we're bolded of distributive property, it's saying multiply 3 times the quantity of x plus 5. So it's saying we have 3 of these groupings of x plus 5, aka if I distribute this 3 to everything in parentheses, I would get 3x plus 15. Okay, so our distributive property says take what's on the outside and multiply it through to everything in parentheses. So if we had 5 different terms on the inside, we'd have to multiply 5 different times. Okay, so let's look at number 1. We're just going to distribute. So I'm going to distribute negative 5 to the y. So negative 5 times y is negative 5y. And then distribute negative 5 times 6. And this is where we need to make sure we're good with our positives and negatives. What is negative 5 times 6? Negative 30. Good. Okay. So for number 2, same deal. We're going to distribute. Negative 4 times a is negative 4a. And then negative 4 times negative 7, and negative times a negative makes a positive 28. Okay, you guys try 3 and 4. Watch your signs, right? Watch your positives and negatives. Really important there. Give you guys 30 seconds or so. Okay, so let's see how we did with number 3. So let's check your answer. We're going to distribute 3 times 2x gives me 6x. And then 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. Who wants to tell us what they got for a final answer on number 4? Let's hear from someone at home and then confirm it with someone in the class who is raising their hand. Someone at home, what'd you get? You can unmute or you can type it.
You got negative 10 plus 30.
Very close. Negative 10 plus 30. Max, what did you get?
I got 30x plus negative 10.
Good. Okay, so, or you can leave it like that. Either one is fine. So just make sure you have your x still, Moses. But correct, we're going to distribute 5 times negative 2 gives me negative 10. And then 5 times 6x gives me positive 30x. Just so you know, Max said this as his answer. Is this okay? Yes, it is, right? It's a positive 30x and a negative 10 still. So that is an okay answer for sure. And oftentimes we do usually put the x first. But if you wrote it as the blue, that's fine. Any questions? Super important, guys, that we know our signs. So if you're like, oh, I'm doing it pretty much right, but I have a positive when it's supposed to be negative. Well, when we go solve our equations, that's going to create a lot of errors. So make sure we're using our negatives, make a positive, right? Different signs, make a negative, etc. All right, let's look at number 6. Sorry, number 5. I skipped number 5. Number 5 says, look at the problem and determine what went wrong. Explain. So I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to think about what happened, and then I'll hear some answers. So quiet for 30 seconds. All right, so let's hear from someone. We've heard from Max and Moses today so far. Let's hear from somebody else. What happened here? Should I call on people?
They didn't distribute the 100 to 5.
Beautiful and perfect explanation too. So they did not distribute the 100 to the 5, right? If we do this properly, 100 times 2x is 200x. And 100 times 5 is positive 500. So there's the correct answer. So explain the error and fix the mistake. Well, we fixed the mistake, and the error is that this person, or whoever did this, right, did not distribute to the 5. So we must distribute to all terms in parentheses. Okay, and often that is a very common mistake, especially if there's more than 2 terms. People will forget to distribute to all of the terms. Okay, so now we have a bunch of solving equation questions. So questions 6 through 15 are all solving equations. Some of them are complete review, and some of them require the distributive property. So I'm going to do a couple with you right now, and then I'm going to have us move on to something else, and I'll have you come back to finish. So let's do the odds right now. So let's start with 7. Okay, so for number 7, we're trying to get x alone. So this is a review question, no distributing here. What's the first thing I need to get rid of to get x alone? Max?
6.
Good, the 6. It's a positive 6, so I'm going to subtract 6. Now remember, folks, our goal is to keep our work organized, and we're working vertically going downward. Do not start writing answers to the side. So on the left-hand side, the 6 cancel. I'm left with x over 4 equals 9 minus 6 is 3. All right, let's hear from another person. What comes next to get x alone?
Multiply by 4.
Good. Multiply by 4. Okay, right? It said x divided by 4, so to undo division, we multiply. That'll cancel on the left side, and then we have 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so we're showing all of our steps to get our answer. All right, let's go down to number 9 now. Again, we're going to do the odds all together. So flip your paper to number 9. Okay, so for number 9, what property do we have to use here? What property did we just learn about, folks? Right, the distributive property, but what operation is that? Is multiplication. Yes, so we're going to first distribute. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 5 gives me negative times a negative, everybody? Positive 10. Okay, so I distributed. And now we will get x alone. So what do I get rid of first, the 2 or the 10?
The 10.
10, good. So to undo plus 10, we subtract 10. And these are like the problems we've been doing, right, on our word problems, right, getting our x's alone. So we have now negative 2x equals, and be careful here, 8 minus 10 is negative 2. Okay, so again, that's why we've been practicing those sign rules, because we need to make sure we do those correctly. If you said positive 2, now your next answer will be incorrect, okay? So now to get x alone, we were multiplying, so now we divide. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 is
1.
positive 1. Okay? Okay, let's look at number 11. Again, we see that distributive property, so let's distribute. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Now we're going to undo the minus 12 by adding 12. What happens here?
You get 0.
We get a 0. Yeah, we get negative 2x equals 0. That's okay. Because our next step is just going to divide. And what's 0 divided by anything? 0. Okay, you guys try 13. And then I'll put that up step by step. So I'll give you guys a minute to try 13. Distribute first, right? So we're just distributing on the other side, but we're still going to distribute. And once you have your answer in the private chat, you can go ahead and type your answer. You can see how people are doing. And I'll give you a hint. You get a fraction. I don't think I've seen anything come through on the chat unless it's just not showing. But if you know it, like I said, you can put it in the chat, or are we stumped? Oh, there's one person. Nice, Moses.
Wait, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Good. Kate, you're very close. Max, good. So let's take a look here. Some of you, it looks like the people who have participated, you're on the right track. We just got to watch our negatives here and there. So we're going to distribute. So I'm going to leave the negative 11 as is. And we're going to distribute. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And then negative 3 times negative x, remember, becomes a positive 3x. So watch your signs there. That's really important.
Wait, can you say why it's positive again?
Why it's positive 3x?
Yeah.
Because a negative 3 times a negative x, right? Same signs make a positive answer.
Okay.
Okay. So now to get the x alone, I need to get rid of the 12. It's a minus 12, so we add 12. Negative 11 plus 12 gives me a positive 1. And we're left with 3x on the right-hand side. And then our last step is to divide by 3. And the common mistake people do here is you think like, oh, 1 and 3, that just makes 3. But notice it's a smaller number up top than the bottom. So we just get 1/3 is what equals x. Any other questions? Okay, let's go on to 15 once you have that one all set. What should are we distributing on 15? No. What are we going to do first on 15? Get rid of what number?
7.
Not quite. That'll be our second one we want to get rid of. I want to get rid of that fraction, the denominator. So we need to get rid of the 3. Okay? So it's saying divide by 3. So to undo that, we're going to multiply by 3 to each side. Now those 3's cancel. Now you're left with 2x plus 7. And 12 times 3 is 36. So that fraction has disappeared. So from here, we can now do what Moses said. Now we can get rid of that 7 by subtracting it. And we get 29. And now we divide by 2. What happens?
You get 14.5.
Okay, we get 2 answers. Somebody said one answer in the classroom and somebody said it online. Yeah, so there's 2 situations. You can divide and you can get a decimal. And since that decimal is a nice decimal, and by what I mean by that is that it is just a 1 decimal place, it terminates, you could write that as 14.5, or we can leave it as that improper fraction of 29/2. Because remember, if that had been a 3, you would get a decimal that goes on and on and on. So leaving improper fractions is fine. If you write 14.5, that's okay because, like I said, that decimal terminates. So it's an exact answer. Any questions so far? Okay.
Could we do one where the entire operation isn't a fraction, like number 8?
Sure. We'll do 8 and then we'll go down to the bottom because I just want to make sure to get that stuff done before lunchtime too, okay? So for number 8, everyone scroll to that one. What should I get rid of first? What is like least attached to the x? Max? Okay, and this is the tricky part. Exactly. So last time around, we got rid of the denominator first. But notice here, we've got this guy that I'm just put an arrow to. That guy is like completely on its own little island away from the x. So we always try to get rid of what's least attached. So that's what we're going to get rid of first. And it says -2. So to undo that, we will add 2. So that gives me 6 equals 3x/5. Okay, so always trying to get rid of what's least attached. I'm going to pause for a second. Go look at 10. Is the 4 on its own this time? Like the 2 was? So look at 10. Is this what I'm putting an arrow to on its own? Isolated? No.
No.
Right. So I wouldn't get rid of that one first. So please just notice the difference how in number 8, that -2 is on its own. So that's why we get rid of it first. But on 10, what would I get rid of first on 10?
The 2 that you're
Exactly.
dividing by.
Yeah, that denominator. Okay. So it's really important that we understand what we get rid of first. All right. All right. Let's go back to number 8 now, though, to finish that one. So we got rid of the 2. Now I have 6 equals 3x over 5. You have 2 options you can do now. What's one option? Someone tell us that could be correct.
Multiply by 5.
Yes, we could multiply by 5. So let's do that. Positive numbers here. So that's great news. Don't have to worry. 30 equals 3x, right? Those 5s cancel. And now we divide. So 10 equals x. In another color, I'm just going to show you the other option. If I had come back to this point here where we had 6 over 3x over 5, the other option you can use, don't forget, is reciprocal, right? We can multiply instead by the flip by 5 over 3. And then make that common, make a denominator, and that gives me 30 over 3, which again, just like we got, is 10. Okay? So don't forget about how sometimes you can use that reciprocal. Any questions? You guys are going to come back to these other ones soon, 6, 10, 12, and 14, and we'll check them. But I just want to make sure we're not rushing with the other directions. Okay? All right, so let's go to the last page now. Everybody, please make sure you're flipped to the last page. And then, like I said, we'll come back. So the last page is our ordered pairs, and I think most of you guys are good with that. We've been doing plenty of plotting, but I want to make sure we can do the reverse. So for example, let's look at number 16. 16 says, write the ordered pair of point A. So you're going to look at your graph and you're going to find A. I'm going to highlight it. Here it is. Okay? So what is that ordered pair? Remember, when we write ordered pairs, it always goes X, then Y. So what's the X value of A?
-9.
Good, Jordan. -9. And then our Y value? Max?
-2.
-2. Good. Okay. So again, here was the -9, and then this -2 is why we're here at A. Does anyone have any questions with those? We all know that. If it's on an axis, remember it's okay to have 0 as a coordinate. All right. And then 21 through 25, you're going to plot those, which I think everyone is comfortable with, but we'll check that. Okay. So here's what I'd like you guys to do. We have about 10 minutes, a little bit more, till lunchtime. What I want you to do is make sure that, should be plenty of time, is that you finish this worksheet, because when we come back from lunch, we're going to start by checking all the answers. So you're going to do the plotting part. That takes pretty quick. And then you have 4 equations to solve. 10, 12, 14, and then don't forget about 6 at the very beginning. Okay?
Oh wait, can you go down real quick?
Sure. To where?
To like the last page.
Yes.
How do you do 21 through 25?
So you're just plotting. So I'll do that real quick with you. So for 21, it's just saying plot -7, 0. So that's just like how we've been doing all of our graphs before. So -7 is our X value. So I go to my X value of -7. Here it is. And then 0 is my Y value, which there it is. So I'm going to make a point right there, and I'm going to call that F. I'm going to label it the letter. Is that okay for the rest?
Yeah.
Okay.